Okay, we're going to look at screen capture with Camtasia. That is the ability to record the screen of your own computer, something that's being used more and more in education and more in training. Absolutely fantastic if you're trying to flip your classes or do blended learning or deliver training for a business or an organization. Whenever you think about screen capture, you need to think about three things. First of all, making the initial recording, that is marking out something on the screen and recording it. Then afterwards, editing it, and then how you're going to distribute it. So is it going to be in a blog? Is it going to be on a DVD? Is it going to be on the internet? Is it going to be in something like Moodle or Blackboard, etc.? So those are the three things we need to think about, and that's what we're going to do in this training session, is go through those three parts: making the initial recording, editing it, and distributing it. So let's start straight away by looking at the initial recording. Okay, we're going to do our first recording in Camtasia, but what we're going to do is we're going to do it the quickest way that you possibly can. So going to very quickly find Camtasia. Now if you go to your apps, you should look under TechSmith, because Camtasia is made by a company called TechSmith, and you'll see Camtasia 9. Another possibility is that when you uploaded Camtasia, you probably find that you've got an icon on the screen of your computer. I've got one here, and I can click on that and that will open up Camtasia. Now when we think about Camtasia, normally what we do is that we think of it in terms of two kind of tools. So I'm going to click on new project. You could click on new recording. I'm going to click on new project. All that's going to happen now is it's going to open up Camtasia, the actual main Camtasia tool. But what we will need to do then is now to click on this button here, record. Now I said I'm going to do this as quick as possible. So what's the fastest way that we can do a recording? Well, I'm just going to show you the very quickest way. So you need to choose the area that you're going to record, and what I'll do for this example here is I'm actually going to record this PowerPoint presentation. So I'm going to open up the PowerPoint presentation onto the screen, click back on the first frame of the PowerPoint, and I'm going to kind of position. So what you can do here is choose the size of your screen, and I'm going to use this one here, select area, and I can just mark the area that I want to record. Okay, simple as that. Alright, now there's no point in me recording full screen if I simply don't need a video that big, and the smaller the screen, the smaller the video size anyway. You don't want to do a teeny weeny screen, but that's a good size. And just check that your audio's working. So if not, click here and make sure that you choose the right audio device, and you'll see the sound working there, showing you that it's working properly. I'm not going to have the camera on, so just make sure that you click and turn the camera off. I'll come back to all of these settings in a minute. We are going to be doing here just the simplest way of making a Camtasia recording. Now there are lots of default settings, but we're going to leave all the ones that are set for Camtasia. And now what we're going to do is click on the button here, and we're going to record. Okay, ignore that, that's simply happening because I'm doing a Camtasia of a Camtasia, and now it's recording the screen and everything that I do in this area. So if I jump to another page, then it will record that one, and if I jump to another page, it will record that. Okay, and I can literally jump through, and if I stop that now, that recording is immediately ready, and now it's recording the screen and everything that I do in this area. So if I jump to another page, then it will record that one, and if I jump to another page, it will record that. Okay, and I can literally jump through, and if I stop that now. Okay, so that's the simplest way of making a recording. But look what I'm going to do now. I'm going to click on the button called produce. Now it's going to do two things. First of all, it's going to ask me to save that original recording, so I'm just going to save it on my desktop. Alright, so I'm going to click on my desktop, and I'm going to call this one test video 1. Okay, and then I'm going to save that. Now what it's going to do is going to immediately open up this window here and say, well, what do you want to do with that video? Yeah, you want to do it the quickest way possible. So do you want to make a video, compress it as a video? You're going to share it on Vimeo, you're going to share it on YouTube, you're going to share it perhaps in your Google Drive. So you've got lots of different ways of sharing that video. What I'm actually going to do with that first one is I'm going to make just a simple compressed video from it. Okay, so you've saved the raw file, the original file. Now I'm simply going to click on MP4 only. MP4 is a file type that most computers can play very easily. We can use it, for example, just to play a video on our computer, or to put it on the internet, in a blog, in a wiki, etc. Okay, I'm going to show you lots of options later. I'm just showing you the minimum way. I'm going to click on next now. It's going to ask me, well, where shall I save this new recording? And I'm going to save that also on my desktop, and I'm going to call it test 1 or test video 1 output, because this is actually the compressed version. Okay, click on save and click on finish, and now it's going to do that. And look how quick it does it for me. It's taken that video that I made and it's compressed it, and there it is. It's recording the screen and everything that I do in this area. So if I jump to another page, then it will record that one, and if I jump to another page, it will record that. And I can stop and start that. Okay, now if I wanted to find that video, of course I save it on my desktop. So if I just close the window, I should be able to come to my desktop and find that there's test video there. And if I click on that, the video's inside in the folder. That is the easiest way. What I did then, in a way, was I kind of missed one of the whole steps. If we come back onto here, what I actually did there was I made the initial recording, and then I jumped straight to distributing it. I didn't do any editing at all. That is the quickest way of working, and that is if you do a recording and then you click produce. Okay, that is the fastest way to make a video. Okay, so now we're going to do another recording. So we're going to click on the little recording one here. I'm going to start to show you some of the important things when we're working with Camtasia. Now, by default, there are lots of settings that you can look at, and I'm just going to sort of show a couple of them. Obviously, one thing I did show you was that how you can kind of choose the size of the screen that you want to record. You can go full screen if you want to record the whole of the area, or you can choose select an area, which is what I tend to do. Okay, if you want to do a specific size, you can actually choose, for example, very common these days is this one here, 128720, or even that bigger one now as well, 1080, that one there. I can click on that, and again you'll see that that kind of records almost the whole, in fact it records the whole screen. So you can even have these kind of preset sizes as well if you want to do the recording at a preset size. And when you do a recording at the preset size, notice you can move it. Okay, now why would you do a recording at a preset size? Well, simply because the ratio of the width to the height is exact, and that means that it will save very easily into something like YouTube or into screencast, because the ratio of the video is the exact dimensions that something like YouTube or Vimeo would like. In other words, the way that YouTube chose a video these days is what we call HD, high definition, and it's what we call widescreen. So you've got that option as well to choose a specific screen size, or simply to select an area. Okay, now for this next one I'm just going to select an area. So I've selected my area, and there are a few important controls. So if you go to tools and then go to options, and I'm just going to point out a few of these to you. Okay, most of the time, most of these settings you don't need to change. Okay, but a couple of them that you do, and one or two of them are quite important. Now, first of all, the one that I always change is I click on File Options, and I will do this right from the start, and that will be the default. That is that it automatically gives your recording a name. No, I don't like that. When I make my initial recording, that's what we call the raw file, the very basic recording, the first one, I like to name that. And then of course you compress it, and you need to also give that a name. So you actually, when you do a recording in Camtasia, you create two recordings. Your initial recording, what we call the raw file, and then you make from the raw file, you make a file that is ready to use on the internet. So there are kind of two files that you're actually producing. Now the good thing is that you make any mistakes with that file, when you make the compressed file, you can always go back to the raw file and make another copy. Alright, so that's the reason why you always save the raw file, so you've always got that data handy. Okay, so that's one of the settings, and that will therefore force your computer to ask you every time that you make a raw file or you make a compressed file to give your file a name. So I definitely would set that and click on OK. Any other settings here? Well, there's one other one that's very important. Now I just want to explain. You've got two different types of files. When you make your raw file, that's your original file, you've got two different ways. Now simply the difference between these two is that really this AVI file is a little bit smaller, and it basically you're going to do this if you're planning on not doing a lot of editing work, because an AVI file is there is less data, less information in it. It's easier to handle, it's easier to work with. However, if you are planning on doing a recording and then maybe doing some editing to that recording, adding some subtitles, perhaps changing the audio, perhaps adding some more audio, you will need to record in Trek. Now, for most of the examples I'm going to give to you today, my recommendation would be to record in Trek. Okay, so that's the setting that I suggest that you use for that, and that's really important. The rest of the settings for now I wouldn't worry about. I will come back and look at some of them. Now let's just one other thing. So in terms of if we look at here the inputs, here I can just check that I'm using the right microphone, and I can clearly see that it's working. Some people like to record their camera. I'm not a big fan of using my camera. I rarely use it, but you can do not record camera, but I can use my camera. Now when I use my camera, it's going to put me in a little kind of video here in the corner. My experience with using the camera is it makes the files bigger, therefore they're harder to work with. The quality of most cameras on a PC are not that good, so it's not necessarily very high quality, and it doesn't really add much to your screen capture. One super important button though is this one here, record system audio. Now why would you record system audio? Well, imagine you're doing a recording, but actually and you're say perhaps doing a screen capture, and in that screen capture there's some sounds. Maybe for example if you were doing a screen capture of a video, okay, and that video has actually got some sound. Well, what this does is means that it will record any sounds that play on your computer, as well as any sounds, any of your speaking that comes through the microphone. It picks up both. So for example, if you were doing a screen capture of a video and you wanted to include the sound of the video as well, if the video had sound in it, then you would need to click on that button, because it records both the audio being produced by your computer. So let's imagine, for example, it was a rock concert. So the music, etc., that your computer's playing, plus any commentary that you add. And that's why you normally click on record system audio. And that's another reason why this is so important, because to record system audio, you require the Trek file. Remember what I said about the Trek file? It's a bigger file, it holds more data. Those would be the basic settings that you would need to make a recording, okay? And the rest of the things here for now I really wouldn't worry about. There are plenty of settings, we will come back to them at later stages, but for now that really is enough. So I click on OK, and now I'm going to do my next recording. Please ignore that, that's only happening because I'm actually doing a Camtasia of a Camtasia, so I've got two versions of Camtasia running. Now remember, when you record, whatever you do, and sometimes people get slightly confused about this, whatever you do in this area of the screen is now being recorded. So if I was to, for example, open up the internet, say, and I was to perhaps then even go and open up a picture, let's say, I don't know, let's just grab one of the pictures as an example. Let's just come to here, and let's just imagine that I open up a picture onto the screen. Then all of that will come out in the recording. Okay, so if I stop that recording now, notice one other thing, so I can pause it. So now it's not recording, and then I can resume. So it's very useful sometimes when you're doing a presentation. If I click on stop now, remember that recording area of the screen is now immediately it plays in what we call the preview window. Okay, so that's very important. It plays in the preview window immediately, and not only that, so I can play it and just check it's working. Now being recorded. So if I was to, for example, open up the internet, say, and I was to perhaps then even go and open up a picture, let's say, I don't know, let's just grab one of the pictures as an example. Let's just come to here, and let's just imagine. Okay, so you can see everything's working. Now remember, I set it so that it asks for the name of the file. So as soon as I click on save as, so I just clicked on this little tag here and then clicked on save as, it's going to ask me, well, what's going to be the file name? So this is the raw file. Yeah, remember the raw file is the first file that you save. Raw, I'm going to call it raw file 2, because this is the second example we've done. And again, I'm going to save that on my desktop. Okay, so I'm going to come up and make sure I've saved that on my desktop. Save. Now, when I now go to edit that file and compress it or do something with it, then I can then, obviously I'll have to name it again. So remember, you've got your original file that you do, and then there'll be the edited one. Now notice that Camtasia immediately now, I've saved that first recording. Now it sends me, right, do you want to do another recording? So I could start and do another recording now straight away. Again, please ignore that. That's just happening because of the fact I'm doing a Camtasia of a Camtasia. And then blah 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 blah. This is my second video. We've got the picture here, and we could even click through maybe another picture and click through another picture, etc. Stop. Second recording, and then blah 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 blah. This is my second video. We've got the picture. So again, I'm going to save that. So click on Save As, and again, I'm going to call this. Remember, I'm saving here the raw file. So I'm going to say raw file 3. Okay. And I'm going to save that. So that means now I've done 3 recordings. One of them I already compressed and turned into a video. That was the very first one I've done. And I've just done 2 additional recordings. Now, remember, if we go back to what we said about Camtasia, is that when you work with Camtasia, you make the recording, then you edit it. Well, how are we going to edit those? Well, let's have a look at that stage of the process now. So we've done a recording. We've only really looked at it in a very basic way, but we've done a recording. If we were now to open up Camtasia, and I'm going to open it up onto the screen, so I don't need the recorder anymore. What I need to do now is those 2 recordings that I've created, I need to bring them in and start editing and playing around with them. Or how will I do that? Well, I'm going to click on Import Media. Remember, I saved them on my desktop, and if I remember, I called them raw file 2 and raw file 3. There they are. These are the raw files. Open up. I bring them straight into Camtasia. Now what I can do with those 2 files is I could put one next to the other. So I could say, right, here's raw file 2, and you'll notice it's got an audio file and a video file, and now here's raw file 3, and I'm going to put them next to each other. And that would now mean that if I played those videos, the first one would start playing, and if I moved along just to do it really quickly till I get to the next part here, sometimes when you're doing a presentation, if I click on and then blah blah, it will go straight into the next video. So straight away you can start to see how you can now make your original recordings, bring them into Camtasia, and now you could start to edit and play around with the size and the audio and what's on the screen, etc. And that's what we're going to start to look at next. Okay, so we've already seen then that we can you know, make a recording, that's the raw file, and then bring the recordings into this area that's called the editor. And we can even bring recordings into the editor and then start making some more recordings. So I can still click on the record button and go back and do some more recording work, okay? And I'm actually going to do that now. Again, if you notice, because once you've set your recording settings, you really don't need to worry about them. Every time you do a recording, they're always going to be the same. So unless you decide you will need to change the size of your screen. So just for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to click again here and do another recording just to quickly demonstrate it. So remember that it's obviously in this particular case it's only this area that you can see where the yellow is that it's being recorded, and I'm just trying to make the point that anything you do on the screen, it doesn't matter what you do, that simply comes out in the recording. So anything that I open up onto the screen, etc., will come out into the recording. So let's just come back to my pictures, for example. If I clicked on some sort of icon and then I open that icon onto the screen, that will come out, okay? So again, I've added a third recording. I'm going to click stop. Particular case, it's only this area that you can see where the yellow is that it's being recorded. And you'll notice that plays back straight away in the preview window. And again, if I wanted to now produce that immediately, I could click on produce, but we're not doing that this time, are we? What we're doing is saving the video. So we can click on save as, and we're going to call this one raw file 4. Raw file, sorry, 4, okay? And click on save. So we've saved the raw file. Now if we come back to the editing window, so I'm going to click and open up the editing window again, turn the recorder off, I can now go to media, okay, and if I need to import media, just go to file, and then I'm going to have something here called somewhere import media. Oh, they've actually moved it, but there it is, import media. What media? Well, I'm going to go to my desktop because that's where I've been saving that media, and I'm going to now import that other file, and I've got a new one, and then I could drag that to the timeline and put it after the other ones. We've now got 3 videos and they're already linked together because we can play one and it will play the next one and then we'll play the next one. So we've started now to look at we've done certainly looked at that first stage, that recording stage. And before I now move on to this second stage, I just want to point out one very important thing about the recording stage. Just going to open up here again the recorder. Go back to, remember I clicked on tools and then options, and this is a really important kind of set of options here. Remember, we made a couple of changes. We made sure that it was a Trek recording. It's the original file format. We clicked on options and we chose to ask for name, so that every time you click on a recording that it asks for your name. Now, just another important setting, just want to make sure that you have got this unchecked. That is, hide the preview window after recording is stopped. That is important, and it should, and you might, sometimes it will be checked in the default settings, but just to make sure that just double check that it isn't. The reason that's useful is because that is the reason that when we do a recording, or when I do a recording, immediately I can play that video back in the preview window. What do I mean by that? Let me just quickly point that out to you. So if I do one more recording just for a few seconds, alright, so I'm doing a recording now, and I'm going to click on the record button and just record for a few seconds. Testing, 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 1, 2, 3, testing. Notice, of course, that it immediately opens in this preview window, and that's because I don't ask for this preview window to be hidden. I ask for it to be, I unchecked it, so that this always comes up in this preview window. That gives me a quick chance to just check the video's okay. 3, testing, and then if I'm happy with it, I'm going to click here, and I'm going to do it one more time now. Alright, so we're saving yet another file. I think we're up to 4 raw file 5. Now, one thing I really should have done is made a separate folder for all of those files rather than just save them all onto my hard disk, because on my desktop, because obviously my desktop's going to end up getting very messy. So I should have really created a folder and put all those videos into that folder. For this demo, it doesn't matter too much. So right, okay, we've now made some recordings. We're not going to do any more recording now, so we're going to stop that completely, so we can close that window back. We're going to really bring our attention now to the second part, which is the editing. Now, we've done another video, so let's import that video in again. So we've now got 4 videos. So import, go media, and we're going to come down. We're now looking for raw file. There it is. Wow, great. So we've got another one in there now, and we're going to drag that in. Now we're going to start to look at some of the editing options that we've got. Hi, this is Russell Stannard from teachertrainingvideos.com. I really hope you found those videos useful. Please come to teachertrainingvideos.com. There are plenty more videos, and all of the videos are free. There's a newsletter that you can sign up to that I send out every month and update you with the latest videos. But if you're not interested, just click on that, and the section that you'll probably find the most useful will be Camtasia training. Now, there are several videos on different aspects of working with Camtasia, and also I am actually one of the recommended trainers here in the UK from the TechSmith website. So if you're looking for any training in Camtasia, then please contact me. One other thing as well, if you are interested in buying Camtasia, teachertrainingvideos.com does a very good deal for anyone working in education. So if you are a student or you work for an educational institution that's either public or private, you can buy a fully working educational copy of Camtasia Studio from Teacher Training Videos for the price of $169. Please make use of the website, and thanks ever so much.